What's going on, guys? It's Jamie, aka the FUD Economist, and today we're going to be doing a market summary focusing on the future stars and some other high-level cards like Team of the Years and some of the icons that these future stars could be replacing. We're going to be talking about the price trend of these future stars, how we can sort of learn from the price trends and how that can apply to future promos when EA puts new exciting cards into packs, and how you guys can sort of profit off that in the future. We'll be talking about when to buy these cards, if you should buy them now, if you should hold off until some of the stuff that's coming in the future, like the One to Watch promo and the Lunar New Year promo. We'll talk about how the dynamics of those events coming up are going to affect these, as well as the Team of the Years and some of the icon prices. And we'll also take a look at sort of the pack odds and how the pack odds and the pack weight of these guys actually ended up affecting how these guys' prices matured over the course of this past week, essentially, that they've been in packs. So sort of give you sort of like a timeline, the background. They've been in packs for essentially a week, so they started on the 18th of January. Obviously, they had quite a number of 100K packs and lightning rounds that went on there, so the prices were really volatile on that day. But generally, the prices of these guys on the 18th were really high. They were hyped up for just because they were sort of like young players that people wanted to use. They had ridiculously boosted stats, but just generally they were very, very expensive. And for the most part, not a lot of people actually used them in their teams. This was a new event. This was something that EA has never done before, and a lot of people, I think, were nervous to buy them because there was zero precedent. So a lot of the market guys like myself, guys like Golden Bear, and Run the Full Market, for example, didn't really give people like an outright recommendation, other than the fact that say like these guys look overpriced. So a lot of people, and they were right. So a lot of people held off buying these guys that didn't mature or rotate out of their teams rather. So what you saw was that initially, when these substitute good came onto the market, you should have seen like immediate reaction of some of the high level Team of the Year cards, and like guys like Neymar and Blanc and Seedorf, guys like that were being replaced by some of these really high level cards, like guys like Aurier, Vinicius Jr., Havertz, right? Like these kinds of cards should be pushing down the prices of guys like Werner and Neymar and Verratti and Blanc and Seedorf and Rijkaard. Walker should fall. I mean, so a lot of these guys should have fallen, but they didn't fall as much as they probably should have immediately, just because not a lot of people rotated into them because they were so expensive. So with that base sort of set, now we sort of look at what sort of happened since then. And another thing, actually, before we move on from that, sort of more context to that, is I did a poll on Saturday. I asked people if they were looking to buy these future star cards if they had bought them already, and I did this during my Twitch stream. We did a straw poll, a group activity, and 52% of the people that said that they were looking to buy these, or 52% of the entire crowd that said that they were looking to buy these, said that they hadn't bought them yet. 12% said that they already bought them, and then the rest of them said that they weren't planning on buying these at all. So it was like very clear that not a lot of people had bought these. So fast forward to, so this is Friday, heading into the 19th with the Saturday. Sunday, things start to dip down a little bit, week in league selling, and then you see a huge dip on the 21st, and that is for these future star cards. Again, this right here, this negative 11% essentially is an average price change from the 20th to the 21st. So you saw that these cards came way down in price, 10% of value. That's a significant amount of coins. You can see guys like Guendouzi dropping from 573 to 499. You see someone like Courtois dropping like 20K, Havertz dropping 50K, Foden dropping 30K, Vinicius Jr. dropping almost 200K. I mean, these guys really took it on the chin. You can see I had sort of like an aggregated weekend league sell-off thing here from Saturday to Monday. Guys like Foden dropped 27K. You can see someone like Coutron dropped 11K. Havertz dropped 17K. I mean, these guys really did take it on the chin on this weekend league sell-off. And I think a lot of that is just because the people that were able to afford them initially were just like, okay, now I'm done these. Maybe I want to change around my team a little bit. And basically they sold them. A lot of it because I think people were nervous about the price valuations heading into this week, and for a good reason, as we sort of see since Sunday. These guys have come down quite a bit, and even and this was another thing too we'll get into, but since rewards they've also come down, and also I have PS4 prices as well. They basically mirror the prices of the Xbox on both consoles are pretty much the same price trends. A couple things of note, obviously this DeLit card here, you might see this. Why is this going up to 8.27%? That was because De Jong SBC card had been released, and DeLit was a fantastic center back link that you could do with him. A lot of people use DeLit, De Jong, and then Dumfries, however you pronounce that guy's name, in that triangle, or even Tagliafico, the future or road to the final card. And another thing too that's sort of interesting, well actually before we get into that, I do want to make another point. These guys have a really high pack weight relative to other cards of their sort of stature, if you will. And I've done a video about this before, I'm sure I'll link this in the description, but basically the odds of packing these guys in packs is relatively high. So if you compare this to, this is in a 50k pack, you have a 2% chance of packing a future star. If you sort of rewind it back to Team of the Year, in a 50k pack you had less than 1% chance of packing a future star, a Team of the Year in a 50k pack. In a back to one to watch, you had a less than 1% chance of packing one to watch in a 50k pack. So, you know, for these guys' stats relative to these other cards, you had a relatively high chance. Plus, you added in the fact that these guys had a lot of non-rare gold base cards and or silver base cards, and that adds, and again, this is all sort of explained in the video, but you basically have a much higher chance of packing a lot of these cards. If you go down and look at something like a gold 3 finish, someone that finished gold 3 had an 8.34% chance of packing one of these guys in their weekend league rewards, at least one of them, right? And you even go to like silver 1, you had a 4.89% chance of packing him. So for that reason, a lot of people, and this is something that we talked about on my Twitch stream, was that we weren't going to buy these guys until Thursday rewards, because we saw what happened to them on Saturday, Saturday and Friday rather, when they were put into the 100k packs, when people were opening up the promos. They got absolutely destroyed. They went way down in price. Someone like Kluivert, there was an example that someone gave me that Kluivert went down to like 115k, rebounded immediately to 180k after the lightning rounds were over. So basically we were saying that we weren't going to buy these cards until post Thursday rewards, because they were likely to get pushed down in price, and that is sort of materialized, right? You've seen that they've come down in price. They've dropped on average 4.15%. Interestingly of note, a couple ones that sort of stood out as exceptions to the rule. Havertz was one that went up. Sancho was one that went up, and then Upamecano was another one that up. If you sort of notice a trend and a link between all of those guys, it is that they are from the Bundesliga. The Bundesliga did very well this week because of some of the links that you could potentially make with them now, and in the form of like Goretzka. Plus, that league just in general has gotten a lot stronger. The addition of Davies on the left in the form of that the future star Davies card is, I think, by a mile one of the best players in that league. One of the best, the best left mid in that league, and left wing in that league. And for that reason, I think a lot of people are looking to build more Bundesliga squads now, because it sort of filled the gap that made that league particularly weak, was it didn't really have a left wing. And you know, especially when he gets a 4-star skill move upgrade, he's going to be very, very competitive. So anyway, so now that we've sort of established what has happened and kind of why it's happened, I think it's important to talk about what's going to happen heading into the future. Actually, one more thing I do want to say, the difference between the rare gold cards and the non-rare gold cards, you'll notice that just on aggregate, the prices of these guys for the non-rare gold cards went down more than the prices of the rare gold cards, and that is the base cards of those. And then again, that's sort of explained in the pack video, but you had a chance of packing these guys in weekend league rewards. If you got like a mega pack as part of your weekend league rewards, you could have packed these guys in place of like a non-rare gold card. That's not super important for this video, but something to keep in mind for the future. Okay, so now that we've sort of established all that, it's important to understand also the prices of the sort of substitute goods for these guys, right? So as I said earlier, the prices of these, like the guys like Blanc and whatnot, hadn't really reacted immediately to these guys' release, because there was sort of a hesitancy on most people's part to go out and buy these cards. Now, what you'll notice now is that the prices of these kinds of cards have come down quite a bit, especially after this weekend league sell-off. As I said, people sort of decided on Sunday, okay, I'm done with my teams, and now it's time to rotate out of my sort of meta team that I had, and I think I'm going to sort of liquidate so that I can think about going and buying some guys like Blanc, buy some guys like Aurier, Mendy, some of the other really like high-end meta future stars that were released. And you know, to do that, they had to sell cards in their team like Blanc and Seedorf and Rijkaard, and some of the, like, guys like Warner, and some of the other really sort of like high level cards that were like the staples of a lot of people's teams. Walker was another example that got absolutely destroyed, and because of that, you can see, like, look at the Sunday sell off for like Walker right there. I mean, that was brutal for him. And so sort of the reason for that, right, was because people decided, like, okay, now I'm going to move on to these future stars. So looking towards the future, if you're looking to buy some of these cards, I think for the most part, the future stars have reached sort of a bottom of what they're going to get to for the next at least 2 weeks. And then it's the same sort of thing with the high-end icons and high-end team of the years that have been panic sold. The guys like Neymar, Van Dijk, so guys like Walker, Seedorf, Blanc, some of the guys that got panic sold because these future stars were acting as substitute goods. I think they've sort of reached a bottom. I think they're going to hold the price relatively well. If you're looking to buy some of those cards for your team, especially for this weekend league team, I think you can do that right now, especially if you're looking to change up your meta for the potential change that this update is going to bring in terms of the patch. Sort of looking to the future events, you have one to watch potentially coming up. I'll have a video dedicated to it, but it doesn't look like it's going to be a particularly strong event in terms of new cards that are coming onto the market. You have like guys like Higuain, Naldo, Cesc Fabregas, Viviano, and Balotelli are sort of like the headliners here. That's not going to really make anyone go out of their way and like put some of these guys into their team. So there's not too much worry about that. The only thing that could potentially cause a bit of havoc on the market is if they drop some repeatable SBCs that they did in the years past, and maybe they dropped like summer one to watch back in the packs. That could cause a little bit of market fluctuation. But I think for the most part, this super high end cards are guys like the future stars, the team of the years, and the icons are going to be okay, because most of the one to watches aren't really going to touch those kinds of cards. In fact, guys like Goretzka, who has a one to watch right now, if he just gets cheaper, right? If he gets dropped in the packs and gets cheaper, it's just going to make guys like Havertz and some of those other Bundesliga guys be even more valuables, right? So I think you're like relatively okay for that. Even just a little bit further out than that, though, heading into Lunar New Year, early February, like February 9th, I think it's like February 5th is when Lunar New Year starts. If they start it that following Friday, you might want to think about liquidating some of these guys, because Lunar New Year is something that generally spooks the market a little bit, and you'll see that if you go look at previous years, that Lunar New Year, on the date that they actually drop it, they do 2-for-1 packs, and people basically just like forfeit coins into these packs like it's their job, and that's something that can push prices down in general. So you might want to be thinking about holding these guys maybe for like 1, maybe 2 weekend leagues, and then looking to rotate out of them ahead of Lunar New Year. But other than that, this essentially is a sort of a good lesson for you guys in terms of thinking about like super high-end hyped up prices and how they mature, and especially it's also a good application of the pack odds. I think this is a really good example of, in sort of previous FIFA muscle memory would tell you that these types of cards would have gone up this Thursday, but in fact it didn't, and that was mainly because, and this was a conclusion that again we made on Twitch, but that was because of the pack odds and how high these relative pack odds were, mainly because they had so many non-rare base cards available. So other than that, it's been Jamie, aka the Flood Economist. Thank you for watching, guys, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.